Good morning once again, my brothers and sisters in Jesus Christ. What a great honor it is to be with you to study God's Word again this morning. Today we find ourselves once again in Hebrews chapter 11. We've looked at so many heroes of faith in this chapter. The author of Hebrews is trying to convince the Jewish audience, whether they've received Christ or haven't received Christ, that the Messiah is the fulfillment of what was happening in the Old Testament. And one of the ways he brings that to the forefront is to say, look, all the heroes that you Jewish audience believe in, they all came to Jesus, or they came to God by faith. They all were saved by faith. They all trusted God. It wasn't about rule keeping. It wasn't about having the appropriate heritage. It was about faith. So through this chapter, we've seen amazing things happen. We saw faith that Abel had, faith that Enoch had, faith that Noah had, faith that Abraham, Isaac, Jacob. We saw God moving through these people because they simply said, Lord, I believe. Now today, we look at what God has to say to us in Hebrews 11 about Moses. Look how this starts. It's very, very interesting. By faith, again, what are we being told to emphasize here? The faith of Abraham. I'm sorry, did I say Abraham? The faith of Moses. He believed. Okay, when he was born, he was hidden for 3 months by his parents because they saw that the child was beautiful and they were not afraid of the king's edict. Now, we have to just pause here for a moment and just think about what this is saying. The Pharaoh, the king of Egypt at the time, had said, look, we need to kill all the male babies born to the Hebrew women. So when those babies are born, kill them. That was the instruction. So imagine the stress in Moses' mother's life when she realizes she's pregnant. Imagine what happens when she delivers a boy. She is assumed to follow the leadership of Pharaoh and obey the order and kill her son. Well, of course, she doesn't do that. She is not afraid of what the king has said. She's not going to let fear rule her. She's going to let God's righteousness rule her life. She hides the baby until the baby gets big enough that he can't be hidden anymore. He's making too much noise. What happens then? Well, she does something that's just phenomenal. In fact, probably the best way to get you there is just to take you to Exodus chapter 2 and tell you the story in case you're not familiar with it. This is a fascinating story. The woman conceived, that's Moses' mother, and bore a son. And when she saw that he was a fine child, she hid him for 3 months. And when she could hide him no longer, she took for him a basket and made of bulrushes and daubed it in bitumen and pitch. That means she made it so it would float. And she put the child in it and placed it among the reeds by the riverbank. Just a little side note while we go through this. This word in Hebrew called a basket is the same word used for ark. Think about that. God delivers Noah from his judgment against sin through the ark, right? Noah built an ark. We studied that a few days ago. Now, Moses is put into the same word. It's a basket, but it's called an ark. God is going to use Moses to deliver his people from the bondage of slavery in Egypt. All right, so Moses' mother has the faith in God to say, God, this boy's in your hands. I'm going to put him in this basket. I'm going to take him down to the river. I'm going to let him go. God, it's up to you. What do you want to have happen? If hostile people find that basket first, what are they going to do? They're going to kill my son. If I keep my son, what's going to happen? They're going to find him and kill him. So God, I put him into your hands. I give him to you. Talk about an act of faith. Mothers, could you imagine handing your baby over to basically God by putting him in a basket, not understanding exactly what's going to happen to him? But if you don't hide him in some way, you know he's going to be killed. So you make that tough choice. That was what Moses' mother had to go through as a child of God, to believe and to have faith that God could do it. Look how the story unfolds. And his sister stood at a distance to know what would be done to him. So Miriam, the sister of Moses, was sent to monitor the basket from afar, just to look at it. Now the daughter of Pharaoh came down to bathe at the river, while her young women walked beside the river. She saw the basket among the reeds, and she sent her servant woman, and she took it. What does God do? The basket's by the river. Pharaoh's daughter is timed perfectly. Of course, Pharaoh's daughter doesn't know she's being motivated by God's plan, but she rolls out to have her daily bath, or however often she took a bath, and she sees Moses in the basket. Moses is introduced to royalty as an infant, okay? When she opened it, she looks in the basket, she saw the child, and behold, the baby was crying. She took pity on him. There's the line. She took pity on him and said, this is one of the Hebrews' children. So now Pharaoh's daughter has to decide, am I going to kill him? That's what my father has instructed me to do. But look how cute he is, and he's crying, and she has pity in her heart for him. God induces her emotion to preserve the child, not kill the child. She recognizes that it's a Hebrew child. She knows the edict has been issued to kill him, but she refuses to do so. And when she says, well, this is interesting. Miriam, who's been hiding at a distance in the reeds, steps into the picture right here. Then his sister said to Pharaoh's daughter, shall I go and call you a nurse from the Hebrew women to nurse the child for you? Hey, you recognize he's a Hebrew baby, and you've decided to keep him? There's his sister standing there saying, do you want me to find a Hebrew woman to nurse him in his infancy? Well, we won't go on in Exodus 2 this morning, but guess who she finds to nurse the baby? His mother. So Moses is brought right back to his mother's side to be raised until Pharaoh's daughter calls for him. Now, when Pharaoh's daughter calls for him, then Moses will spend years in the Egyptian educational system and in the very presence of Egyptian royalty. He's adopted into their family. When Stephen is being stoned in Acts 7, he gives us this insight. Moses was instructed in all the wisdom of the Egyptians, and he was mighty in words and deeds. So just understand that God not only allows Moses to be found, but found to be trained in the best education available in the world at the time. He's mighty in his words. He's mighty in his deeds. Now, let me ask you a quick question. If you were in a very powerful family, you had access to everything and anything you wanted. You had all the money you could ever spend. You had women, and you could do whatever you wanted. You just had no limitation on the power that was available to you. You were a ruler. You were upper class, right? Aristocratic class up there. Would you like that? Would that be kind of nice? You could just go to the pool every day and live your life for yourself and enjoy life in anything you wanted to do. Anything. Well, that's where Moses was. He was in that position. And look what the text now tells us, back to Hebrews 11. By faith, again, there it is, faith, Moses, when he was grown up, he refused to be called the son of Pharaoh's daughter. Okay, so Pharaoh's daughter raised him, but he said, no, you're not my mom. You're not my mom. I don't belong here. Instead, what? He choosing rather to be mistreated with the people of God than to enjoy the fleeting pleasure of sin. So, hey, you want me to be Egyptian royalty? No. You want me to say that you're my mom and you raised me? No. I'd rather be mistreated. Go ahead. Hurt me, curse me, do whatever you want to do to punish me, but I will not be subject to all this privilege that you want to bestow on me instead? Because I know God lives, because I know these are his people. You're disobedient to God, but the Hebrew people, they're following him. Because I know that. Go ahead, do whatever you want to me. I mean, if you read the story of Moses, it gets even more intricate than this. He ends up defending Israelis by killing an Egyptian that was harassing them. He ends up going 40 years into the desert to run for his very life. I mean, this man was a man who believed, and he believed enough to take action, and he would rather be mistreated than be identified with the elite and experience all those pleasures. Notice the text tells us those are fleeting pleasures. Nothing about those pleasures matters long term. But serving God matters for eternity, right? As we go forward in the passage, by faith he left Egypt. Okay, there it is. He ran for his life after killing that Egyptian, not being afraid of the anger of the king, for he endured as seeing him who is invisible. Now, there you go. I don't have fear of the king. Why not? Now, if anybody should fear the king, it should be Moses, because he's been right up against the power base of Egypt his whole life. He knows what happens to disobedience. He knows how the Pharaoh has no mercy. He knows. And yet, he's not afraid. Why? Because he knows there's something bigger than Pharaoh, and that's God himself. He endured as seeing him who is invisible. This is faith. I don't see God. I might not even feel God, but I know God's promise is true. I know God is real, and I believe. I will monitor, or I should say manage my life to conform to what God wants, regardless of suffering, regardless of reputation, regardless of what happens to me personally. I will obey God. This is the faith of Moses. What a great example for all of us. Look at this. By faith, he did what? He kept the Passover and sprinkled the blood. Now, this is another story. You remember the story of Passover, I hope. God has been sending plagues to the people of Egypt because Pharaoh refuses to let the people of God go. And the last and final plague is, hey, I'm going to kill the firstborn in Egypt. That's the plague that God announces through Moses to Pharaoh. And what happens from that? Well, Moses is instructed, look, have every household take a lamb. Sacrifice that lamb. Put the blood of the lamb across the doorpost. And when the blood of the lamb covers the doorpost, when I send the angel of death upon Egypt to annihilate the firstborn as my last act of judgment against Pharaoh for not letting my people go, your firstborn won't be killed if they are covered by the blood of the lamb. What a picture of the cross. What a picture of the salvation God will eventually bring through Jesus Christ. But we see here, by faith, Moses is saying, look, I believe you, God. I'm going to tell all the people, kill the lamb, sprinkle the blood on the doorpost, so that the destroyer of the firstborn might not touch them. God, when you tell me it's coming, I believe it's coming. When you tell me you're going to kill the firstborn, I believe, and we will take the action you call us to take in order to live our lives obediently before you. So powerful is this man's faith. By faith, here's another example of faith exercised in Moses' life. By faith, the people crossed the Red Sea as on dry land. Now, imagine the faith this takes when you're standing there with the Egyptian army pursuing you from one side, and here's the Red Sea on the other side, and God, what should we do? Here they come. There's a whole army about to kill us. What do we do? Remember what God says, Moses, why are you talking to me? Hit your staff on the water and watch what I do. The waters part. The whole nation of Hebrew people walks through the Red Sea on dry ground. This is a miracle beyond miracles, isn't it? That physical nature is altered by the power of God to save his people. Moses was the leader of the people through that experience. But the Egyptians, when they attempted to do the same, were drowned. God killed the enemies of his people as they tried to take advantage of the miracle God did for his people. I mean, it's just so phenomenal to see the faith of Moses. He is a man that you could study for a long time. These are the verses the Hebrew writer instructs us in regarding his life. But what I want you to see today, what we need to really think about, I believe, in our own hearts, is, do we trust God over all others? Moses had opportunity for comfort. Moses didn't need all the hassle he had in his life. Can you imagine spending 40 years in a desert tending sheep because you thought you were serving God and things didn't work out the way you thought they would? Wouldn't you think your life was over? And yet, God in his mercy meets Moses in a burning bush in Exodus 3, tells him his plan, and Moses ends up following God obediently to deliver the people. Moses is given the law of God. God works when we put our highest priority on God. When we say, we believe you, we're going to obey you, no matter what the world tells us to do, no matter what our sense of comfort or our own sense of safety might drive us to. God, we believe in you. And if you say go, we're going to go. If you can part the Red Sea for the Hebrew people as they flee Egypt, you can do whatever miracle we might need in our lives to glorify your name through us. We will follow. That's such a strong point for us today. I hope you hold on to it, meditate on it. Church, serve him well today. God bless you.
Who is it who for sinners shed his blood, and now for cleansing all can plunge beneath that flood? It's Jesus. But do you know who he is? He's the image of the invisible God, and he's the brightness of his glory, the first, the last, the future, the past. He is God.